So from there to now, we are all zooming.
Yeah. Thank you for joining, ma'am. It's always a pleasure, and we are honored to have you here with us.
I'll just mute for just a second.
Yes.
I'm back. No, sure.
If you're ready, Akhila, maybe we can start now.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Ready? Okay, we are live on YouTube as well.
We'll start.
Absolutely, yeah.
Sujani, I'll start.
Yes, Sandhya ma'am, please go ahead.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Namaskara. On behalf of Mitra For Life, I welcome all our dear parents for today's session. I have great pleasure in welcoming Srimati Akhila Vaidyanathan, founder director of the Amaze Charitable Trust. Thank you, ma'am, for joining us for the Parents Forum session today.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. A brief introduction of the Amaze Charitable Trust. It has been formed with the vision to help families navigate the autism maze. The trust focuses on three key areas: creating awareness through community awareness drives and inclusive social activities, enabling access through technology-based solutions, providing communication and behavioral support for the individuals. Srimati Akhila is also a founding member at Autism Society of India. She has organized several adventure camps for persons with disability and has been a part of several inclusion initiatives as well. A few examples of these are SMILE, that is sensory motor integration in the learning environment, a program to foster inclusion in preschools. The second one, SENSE, sensory friendly cinema with Satyam Cinema at Brookfield Mall on first Sunday of the month. She's a counselor at Antara, an initiative she founded along with her husband that works towards parent and caregiver well-being and parenting skills training. She is also a resource person at the Asta Foundation for Human Learning since 2012. Srimati Akhila also has many accolades to her name. She has received the Exceptional Woman of Excellence Award by the Economic Forum, Real Hero Award by Rotary District, and a Global Woman Award by Jewel One in Coimbatore. Thank you again, ma'am, for joining us today to share your invaluable thoughts with us. Now, over to Srimati Akhila.
Thank you so much, Sandhya, for that introduction. And it's a real pleasure to be here today with all of you. And I thank Dr. Madhuri for the opportunity for addressing all of you here at Mitra For Life. I think it's a great thing that we're getting together as parents and sharing experiences. Today's topic, we were going to talk about how to help our children, especially teenagers, become more independent, move towards independence. One of the things is that it is a very wide word when we talk about independence. Sandhya, I can just go ahead, right? There are no other formalities for now.
No. Please go ahead. Yes,
Yeah.
you can go ahead.
I just want, I know there are 73 of you here, but I just want you to write a couple of words for me in the chat box as to what independence means to you. Just write 2 words. Independence means dash or dash and dash, just 2. All right, not more than 2. I just, and as you do that, I'll keep talking because we talk about independence all the time. It could range from, are we, take ourselves as an example, are we really independent? Let's examine that. Can we just do everything by ourselves? That is a question to think about. Are we independent financially? Are we independent with, say, even food? Like all of us as mothers, probably we cook meals, but are we independent with the whole process? Do we grow all that we cook? Do we source all that we cook? Can we, be sure about the nutritive value of all that we cook? So is independence a reality or is it a myth? So these are the questions that we need to think about. Um, so um, as we go along today I will be sharing. I normally do this as a almost a half day workshop because this is something very deep and we need to first understand our expectation or our meaning that we've given to independence before we try to talk about what it is for our children, and then look at strategies to help them to achieve what we want them to achieve. So it's a longish kind of thing, but what I've done is I've taken my usual PowerPoint that I usually share for the presentation, and I've not edited it much. So I'm going to share the whole thing with you guys, but we have limited time. I want to finish by around 4:35, 4:40, so that we have enough time for questions for everybody. So um, I will be going through the slides pretty fast. I just wanted to tell you that ahead, that I won't be going through in detail for each of the slides, but I'm going to ask Sandhya to share the PDF of my PowerPoint with you guys so that later on you can go over it to see the details. So broadly, I'm going to talk about what are the things that we need to look out for to help our child become more independent. So without much ado, I'll go on to share my screen. Yeah, so we're going to talk about, I'm not adhered to the title in word, but that's what it means. So what we're trying to cover today is overall, when we look at it, overall perspective, we're trying to create a roadmap for life for our child, right? When we talk about independence, the child is around 12, 13, I'm assuming. At least by that time, we start thinking about what is he going to do the rest of his life? How much support will he need being a person with disability? What is the level? What are the things he can do on his own? And what is the level of support he'll need and where he's going to get that support? Overall, that is the broad thing that we are looking at. And we're also looking at skills that they need in order to be independent. The prerequisite skills, you can call it, or the skills that foster, help them to become more and more independent. Yeah. And also the meaning of those words, the self-awareness, self-regulation, we keep talking about these words. So just to understand them in the context of being independent. And then I'll also, the presentation also covers the strategies that we can adopt, specifically with special needs persons, in order to help them become independent. So, for example, when you talk about a strategy, you're saying that this person, for example, maybe cannot speak, like my son cannot speak. So we are saying that, okay, so he cannot speak, but communication is an important critical skill there. I've listed it as a critical skill there. So can we look at other ways for that person to communicate? So when we look at that, we are looking at making an adaptation. We're changing the way he communicates, and we're training him in a different way, so that even though he cannot speak, he can still be independent. Yeah, so that is what I mean by an adaptation. As well as accommodation is making certain things, maybe even with certain tools, the person cannot be able to do. Then we use something which is called an accommodation, where we change the expectation itself. We say it's okay if he cannot do this, somebody is going to support him in doing that, or a system is going to support him in doing that. So suppose a child is not probably able to travel on their own, and so that comes in the way maybe of independently going to the workplace. Then maybe that you need to have a person traveling with them every day to the workplace and back. That is an accommodation. So I'm just clarifying some terminology that I've used here. And then overall, we need to, at this age, we're talking about teenagers, so I brought in certain things, skills that need to be taught at this age, like health and hygiene, sexuality and safety. Again, I'm going to only skim over the points, so you can go ahead and have a look at it later as to what are the critical things that the child needs to learn, and they need to be independent with these things in order to be one, less, dependent on others, completing their hygiene routine, taking care of their health, taking care of their sexuality, and being safe, whether it is sexually safe or safe on the road or safe at home. They need to understand safety. Otherwise, they will need to be somebody supervising them, isn't it? So those kind of skills, what is it that's important? And so those are the last 2 points where I've shared certain goals. So coming to adolescence, which we're talking about, we all understand it's the age between 11 and 19, the teenage years, you can call it, when the body is sort of has a blueprint to mature into an adult, from a child into an adult. So there are a lot of changes that happen in different areas, the physical, emotional, behavioral, cognitive, and social areas. There are a lot of changes that happen. And for example, the body changes, the mind changes, the way, Piaget, the psychologist, talks about the stages of, development. And this is the stage where they go into what is called the pre-operational stage, or the concrete operational stage, where whatever they've learned till the age of 10 or 12 years old, they're actually able to test it out, they're able to apply, they form their own concepts in life. They, there are emotional changes, in terms of their awareness of their own self. Their identity develops at this age, and then the identity then helps, connects with their parents, with their friends. There is peer pressure at this age. There's so much going on in adolescence, isn't it? So it is very important to create for them, especially with when we're talking about children with special needs or adolescents with special needs, they may not be very clear as to what is their capability, as well as what is, what they need to do. So it is very important for the parent to be the key enabler, I will call it. There are the teachers, the professionals, and everybody else who's going to support us, but we need to be the key enablers to help them achieve that independence in terms of their life skills, and also develop a healthy routine for them. Which, for example, why is fitness and health so important? Yeah, in terms of independence. Because if you look at it, if a person is more fit, if the person is more healthy, overall, when we look at, a long term, we're looking at the cost of support. of this individual with, special needs. The more independent they are with their day-to-day tasks, the more independent they are, with their health and fitness. If the more healthy and fit they are, they will need less and less support, less and less caregiving. So it brings down the entire, even the cost of looking after this person or supporting this person. So it's a very important element. And it is an important element for their own well-being also, for their own performance, motivation. If they are fit, if they are healthy, that is when, they are able to perform the best. And the last element here, which I call the E, the L.I.F.E, the life skills, independence, fitness. The last element consists of trying to find out what this person can do for the rest of their life, maybe for a livelihood, maybe just for engagement. But it's important to find out various things that they can do for the rest of their life. So the main elements that we need to keep in mind, I call them the magic mantras, is to ensure that they have these, we approach our teenagers with these mantras. That is, we give a lot of importance to their own communication, choice, having a trusted circle at least with whom they are comfortable and can communicate and express themselves, and to create self-awareness for them. So expression is very important in order to become independent. The other thing is not to look only at their, disability, to look beyond their label and to presume competence, even if they're not showing, not to always be testing our child. Can he do this? Can he do that? We get into an anxious mode where often we are testing the child all the time. So instead of that, to believe that the child, as long as he's interested, say, in an activity, to continue that activity, to explore that activity, and then look for their lead. That is the next point. To look for their lead in terms of interest and ability, and then their potential will come out. And it may not come out just, it may not be evident. Parents often ask, how do I find the talent in my child? So it's not going to be very evident maybe for a person with special needs. There are layers and layers. They need to be having the critical skills first. They need to be able to communicate, regulate, and then only they will be able to explore, and so it is very important to believe in the child, to explore many things, look for their interest and ability, rather than forcing a square peg into a round hole. We need to find where they will fit in, and it's important to give them the time to flower. It may take longer than other children, but give them adequate support and time. And it's important for us to build up a schedule. It's not just about sending them to a center or a school and then, handing over that entire responsibility there. Right from the morning when they wake up, to the night, to the weekends, to the holidays, it's important for us to have structure and schedule for them, to keep helping them to explore and build more and more skills. And once they have a basic level of skills, to then, push them to the next level, in terms of, the duration or the complexity, and to take on more responsibilities, whether it is in the school or at home or at work, and to ensure that they are included in the community as far as possible. Even if they don't go to mainstream school, it does not matter. They can still be included in the community. How many of us are ready to let our children cycle, say, on the main road? There is no restriction there. No one is excluding you. But we need to build that skill. The cycling on the main road is maybe a dangerous proposition. That's what it looks like. But if we, just like any other child, teenager, if we train them and we teach them the safety and we mentor and support them, they will be able to do that. Many of our students who have, in inverted commas, severe difficulties or high support needs, they are doing these things. In fact, some of them are cycling up to 150 kilometers now, and they go with a cycling group. So to, slowly, this didn't happen overnight. It happened over 4 or 5 years. Initially, they didn't even know to cycle. Initially, they were not cooperative, or they were scared. And then we had to cycle around the block, and then we had to cycle, a little farther down. We had to teach them safety. We had to teach them road rules. We had to, sort of tag them all the time before they could do these longer cycling runs. And the only thing that we, pushed us forward with this was the fact that they wanted to cycle. There was no forcing there. The child had a choice, and they wanted to learn, they wanted to do this activity. And what made them feel good is that they were cycling on the road and not just inside some complex. Yeah. So when we work with that approach, at the end of the day, there will be a lot of employment options that open. For example, the child, say, who's cycling can even do some delivery. Maybe they can deliver newspapers, right from some small options like that. One can look at even employment in MNCs. Many of us children are working in MNCs, we all know that. So even if, as I said earlier, we are just reducing the cost of self-care and medication, they are contributing, and I would call that being gainfully engaged, if not employed. So taking a multiple intelligences model, just not looking at an IQ-based model, their IQ may not be very high, or it may not be measurable. So to look at what are they capable of, and to foster an environment that helps them to flower in what they are capable of, that will solve the entire puzzle, because then their self-confidence will improve, then their value for themselves will improve, they will become assertive, and they will become more responsible. We've seen that happen in front of us with our vocational students. So this is certainly a possibility. And so rather than looking at creating persons who can survive the existing mainstream systems, we can, create environments that, succeed with diversity. And it involves just not changing the person with disability, but, strengthening our own community, which is like with meetings like this. This is what we're doing. We're connecting, we're strengthening our own community so that we can go out in strength to the mainstream community and say, hey, our kids are good at these things. Can you accommodate them in this way or that way, and create opportunities for them? And already I see that happening across India, and I'm very happy for that. So the critical skills for independence I was talking about earlier, these are the main critical skills. They need to have communication and group skills. They need to be organized in order to complete any task, be it brushing their teeth or wearing clothes. It involves organization and decision making. They need to follow, timelines. They need to manage their time. They need to manage transitions, and technology becomes a very important skill. Right. So I'm not going to go in detail, as I said, because of the lack of time. So I'm just going to skim over these slides, and you can go and have a look at what are the skills we are looking at under each of these headings that is important for you to work on. And if you can tick it off and say, yeah, this my child can do, and this my child still needs to work on, then that gives you the lesson plan or the IEP, or what we call it, the ILP, the learning plan for the child for the next few years. Yeah, technology is very important right now, especially in current times. So we started a technology-based program about 7 years ago at Amaze, but now we offer online classes and stuff like that. But now with COVID, it has become even more relevant that technology skills are there. And technology is actually a very good bridge for those who, for example, cannot write, cannot speak, or cannot pay attention to see. Right now I'm talking all the time, and it may be something that's very boring for you, but when you look at the visuals, when you look at what I've written on the screen, then it makes a little more sense to you. So even for our children, to sustain their attention, and they are many of them are very visual learners. It's going to technology is a great tool for learning, and as well as many other areas like communication, for even social media for connecting. But it's also important for them to learn to be safe when they're using technology, both protecting the devices as well as keeping themselves safe in terms of internet safety and virus safety and all that. The other important areas are to build these skills of self-esteem, self-awareness, self-regulation. So person becomes independent when they have these skills, right? So let's see what they are. So self-esteem is when they're able to look good, they're able to get complimented for their cleanliness, their hygiene, their looks, their abilities, their skills. And so once they start mastering these skills, and they are independent and people appreciate them for that, then they start feeling a sense of pride in themselves, and that is what is called self-esteem. Also being aware of themselves, not just having a very negative image or a very positive image, but being aware of their strengths and challenges, aware of their disability, and also the impact, like for a person who doesn't speak, to be able to say, I communicate with this tool called on the iPad, and can you please get my iPad, that kind of thing is something that they need to advocate for themselves. So somebody, say, who has a vision issue, to be able to say, I would like to sit in the front row because I cannot see the board otherwise. So these are the things that they need to learn to do. They need to carry their disability on the sleeve without any guilt or shame, with pride, and be able to advocate for themselves. And they also need to be able to control, self-regulate, we call it, their own mood, and be aware. It's not that they should never be in a bad mood. None of us can ever be like that, right? We all are sometimes very silly, sometimes we're very angry, sometimes we're feeling very sad, and sometimes we are happy. We can't be happy all the time. But the thing is to recognize what we are feeling. And then if we need to move into a zone where we need to be performing, to know strategies that will help us. Suppose we're feeling very tired, to be able to say, I need to rest for about 10 minutes before I get into this webinar. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to do well. So that's something I told myself today. So for your children to be able to do that, that is a skill that you will need to build in terms of self-regulation. And self-advocacy at a basic level means being able to communicate their needs, express what they like, don't like, for whatever they want, like food, clothing, activities, being able to, say no. If somebody, for example, sometimes we as parents insist that they should eat a particular thing, and we serve it on their plate. And I think from this age of 13 onwards, I think that is something we should stop doing and give them a little more choice. And if they go hungry, that's great. They need to know that they go hungry, or they learn to fix themselves something else, an alternative maybe, which is simple. I don't like, for example, maybe I say, I don't like today's lunch is, say, sagu and rava idli. I don't like it. So I'm going to just fix myself a soup. They should be having the freedom to do that. Also, it means being able to say no to things that are harming them, like bullying or sexual abuse. So very important, parents, that we often want our child to listen to us all the time. And if we are doing that, we actually are bringing up a child that will then go and listen to everybody. They won't know how to say no. Just give me a minute. I need to take a sip of water. So it's very important. The other day, a parent of a 17-year-old boy, he's finished his 10th standard, had messaged me saying that this boy read something on a bus. He can read, he travels on his own even, he's independent, but is still not aware of his sexuality. And he's asking me a question about a condom. So how do I teach him this? And if I teach him this, isko bigaad jayega kya? Ye bigaad jayega, meaning will he get spoiled because I'm telling him sexual information? Not at all. We need to teach our children some basic awareness about sexuality, about abuse, in order to prevent abuse. If they don't know what is right and wrong, how are they going to say no to something that's uncomfortable to them or they know is wrong? So it's very important to teach saying no. The other thing is to be able to, very often I find children, and I think it is again due to us parents, where we have pushed on a lot of our performance anxiety onto them. And so they're very anxious about, performing. And that is something to look out for, actually. And we need to sort of help them to accept their mistakes. Nobody's perfect, and to be ready to learn, ready to ask for help, and troubleshoot and self-correct. This is something that is very important, I feel, to become independent, because independence is not a destination. It's a process. It's a learning process. And forever, like, for example, this whole Zoom thing, this is something I was not very aware of and comfortable, and I needed, say, my daughter or somebody to teach me in the beginning about 6 to 8 months ago. But now I've become independent with it. So that's okay that I needed help, and I had to learn it. So no one's going to be 100% independent at any point. The thing is to be able to ask for help, to be able to state your needs, to be able to state your problems and find solutions. Of course, as they grow older, we also need to look at independent living. Are they going to go into assisted living, group homes, learn to live without us, sort of thing? That is, in the long term, there is no hurry to do that. I would say, maybe after they have found out what they're good at and they've learned to self-regulate and they've become independent with their life skills, that is when we look at independent living, and also looking at financial independence, if they have a job or if they have something that you put aside, if they can manage it. And it's okay. These are not things that are written in stone. For example, I don't think I'm financially independent. I earn nothing at all nowadays, very little, if at all. And, but I know how to budget for my house. My husband does all the earning, and I know how to spend it. So, so financial independence doesn't mean earning a whole lot of money or managing it. It means understanding, what I have, what I can spend, and keeping track of that, not overspending, not getting cheated. And if I can't do that, say, for example, say it's something I find very difficult, that's okay. If my husband supports me, right, to manage this whole thing. Similarly, it's okay for our children that somebody is supporting them, a family member or a trusted friend with these issues. So we've almost come to our time limit. So I'm just going to go over the slides very quickly. So when we come to independence in self-care, there are a lot of barriers that they have that come in the way of them becoming independent. So we can overcome that to some extent by using these strategies. For example, organizing their personal spaces, using schedules, organizing their task, and for example, the kitchen, the laundry, the recipes, for example, creating videos that help them to learn, and they can just review it on their phone, just before doing their tasks. They can have a look at the video and then go and do it. Using apps that helps them, reminders, tells them what to do next, tells them how to do things, tells them how much time that they need to wait, etc. Using adaptations like these, this is for folding clothes. or for cutting an apple or cutting vegetables. Nothing they need to do 100% on their own if they can't. You can try to teach them, and if they can't, you can put in an accommodation. These are ramps. This is a bell. For example, I found a bell very useful with my son because he's not verbal. If he's in the toilet and he needs something, I've installed a bell in the toilet, so he can just call me from there. So rather than, have a meltdown or, come out, going through the rest of the house in his towel or something, looking for me, he just rings a bell. So also having sensory supports, behavioral supports. I'm not going through them in detail, as I said, because it's a lot of information that I have in this PPT, as well as having things, in case they have a difficulty with understanding a particular situation, using social stories, using reinforcement systems, using adaptive technology for communication, understanding what type of prompting you're doing, because this is another thing with us parents. We've done a lot of over prompting sometimes. The child is very prompt dependent because of that. Either we are physically prompting them a lot, or we're visually prompting them, or we're just doing it for the child. So to look at what is the kind of prompt that the child will get, we need to give the child so they get independent with it. So planning the prompting. And this is something called scaffolding, where like in a building, you have a scaffolding that you put as a temporary structure. And once the building is up, you remove the scaffolding. So we need to build structures like that for them to learn independence, which we can then remove after they have learned a particular skill. Also looking at how the child will learn, rather than, from their point of view, what sort of input mode would be preferred. For example, for a very visual child, video modeling or visual schedules may help. But for an auditory child, maybe just a auditory memo to say this is what you need to do, or will help. So looking at the child's learning style. And this is another very important thing of working alongside the child as a partner, and not, just always being in a teaching mode, especially once they hit the teenage, to say we are doing this activity and doing it together, and that sort of an errorless correction happens, where even if they make a mistake, we cover up for it, and they feel nice that they completed it, the whole process, and being in tune with them, and they being in tune with us sometimes also helps them to regulate. Say if they are having a troubled time, they are anxious, if we are calm, they can take from our calmness to sort of calm themselves down, and over time they learn to regulate on their own. Also, the way we talk to our teenagers and children is very important. These two very great books, they're available on Amazon. I would recommend, in case you're having difficulty with them not communicating properly with you, or you feel that you need to change the way you're talking to your children. And these two books talk about how to foster choice, independence, and responsibility in the children, right from a very young age. So the first one, the How to Talk So Kids Will Listen, is for the younger age, and the other one is for the teenagers. But I would recommend reading the first one and then the second one, because both of them are very good. So the rest of my presentation talks about what to teach, and I'm just going to skim over it. I'm not even going to read what is there. You can go and have a look at it later. Yeah. What are the things to teach in terms of the body, in terms of health, food, in terms of safety? What are the resources? So I pointed to resources available, like the books or websites that you can use for this. Again, for puberty and sexuality, the books and the websites, as well as for safety in terms of sexual safety, the websites. And also talking about what else they need once they're independent with their own self-care, looking at becoming more contributing members at home and in the community. So what are the tasks they can be doing? What are the skills they need, for example, for shopping, or even going out in the community, being able to do all these things. Otherwise, it's difficult for them to be out in the community and be safe in the community. So I leave it to you to go and have a look at those things. And if you have doubts, you can always write into me. My contacts are on the PowerPoint also.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Akila ma'am, for that detailed, giving all the details and for an informative session. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So now I request Mrs. Vidya Venkatesh, parent of a special need youngster, to begin the interactive session. Vidya.
Hi. Hi, Sandhya. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Akila, for this wonderful PPT. I think it was very, very detailed. I think you had to, because of the time constraints, you had to be very quick with it. I'm sure all parents have a lot of questions. So first, initially, I would like to go to the chat and see if parents are wanting to ask any specific question to Akila. Would anybody want to ask anything specific, or I have some questions which I would like to ask?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Yeah. So Akila, this is mainly about teenage children. So I have one very important question, like I feel like which has been happening last year. I remember I still have this boy in my mind, Tarun, who was lost.
Yes.
I mean, who got lost in Mumbai. So when I think about that, many times my son comes to my thoughts like, I mean, he tries to go out, but how can we actually protect them from actually such incidences where, like, Tarun is a boy who got lost last year from Mumbai, and the whole autism community has been putting a lot of effort to search this boy, and he's not yet found, right?
Yeah, he's not yet found. Recently, his father keeps updating. So there was some talk that he may be somewhere near Ahmedabad or Surat, but he's not yet found. And that's really sad that it's been over so many months now that Tarun has been missing. And I keep him in my prayers every day. The thing is that this is a twofold thing. One is to train the child. If we keep the child within the house and never let them go out because of the safety issue, then that would not be fair. Do we all agree? So we need to teach the child skills where they learn to the extent they can, to learn the routes, to go, come back, learn how far they can go from where they need to turn back. So these things have to be practiced. It can't be just by telling the child just through a social story that you need to be safe and all that. So all our students, they all go, for example, walking or cycling. Of course, there is always an adult supervising them, but they all know the routes. And there have been several occasions where the cycling, the person who's tagging this child missed the child, and the children know to come back. That is the main point that we look at. And then the second point is to have, as an organization, for example, Amaze, or as a parent, certain safety protocols in place. For example, whenever we go out, and I have traveled across the world with my son, I always have iron-on labels on all his clothes. When we travel by air, train, anywhere where I feel that, he can go missing and it's a new place. Within a familiar place, that is fine. And even within familiar place, when he's cycling, for example, there's always an ID on him as well as on the cycle. Yeah. And it also says that he is not verbal, and he needs to use that particular thing on his cycle. Has a small card which has some basic symbols besides my address and everything for him to communicate. So I'm saying there are, I can share, maybe I have prepared like a document on this as to what are all the things we need. For example, now you have technology. So in his bag or in his, he can wear a kada, which has a locator thing, So even in a keychain, it can be there. So it will give you the location of the child on your phone at any point. So that is another safety measure we can have. Besides all this, it's very important that we as citizens of this nation, we go and educate the public. We educate for example, all the shops in my locality, I have gone and told them that these children come out and we always supervise them. But in case you see anyone unsupervised, this is my number. Can you call me? So, and also all their t-shirts also have the number prominently on the back of their t-shirt. If they go out, they are wearing a maize t-shirt which has the number. Then the other thing that we put in place is that, we talk to the police, everybody involved.
Yes.
So that they are already aware how to, that there are children like this and how they can support. So it's a multi-tiered thing to keep our children safe.
Yes.
Starting with at home to, everywhere else.
Yeah, I think
I just didn't believe in just restricting our children just to the home only because, for example, my son can't talk. So just because of that, I don't want him not to be able to move out of the house.
Yeah, I think that was a very, very valuable feedback. And from what you say, I understand sensitizing the environment, sensitizing the society is so important.
Yeah.
And spreading awareness is so important.
Absolutely.
I think all of us have to play a very, very important role in doing that. All of us. Yes.
Yes.
So I have the next question. There are some parents who have mentioned also what to label on clothes is one mother who has asked.
Yeah. So what I'll do, I maybe after this webinar, I'll share with Sandhya the resources that I've just put together for safety, while going out. So I'll also include the link for an iron-on label. But you can find it even if you go to Amazon and say iron-on label, you will find it. So you have to give the details and then you can iron it into the inside on the sleeve or, wherever possible. I used to put it on all his clothes. Like, for example, once I traveled from Coimbatore to Jamshedpur, it was a national Special Olympic cycling competition for which he was selected when he was 14 years old. But this train takes 48 hours. And every station, he was so tired of claustrophobic in the AC compartment. So he would want to get down. And then I would walk with him, obviously, and get back onto the train. We had done this whole map. But I was still worried, because just in case I miss him. So all his clothes had that iron-on label.
That's I think wonderful idea. Somebody has also mentioned about a locator device which you had also suggested, right, Akhila?
Locator device, kada can be worn with the silver kada somebody makes in Amritsar. It depends. My son won't wear a kada. He won't wear anything on his hands. So that didn't work. Even there is somebody recently I saw, I didn't note it down, like, the band, like the Fitbit kind of thing with all the address, which has the locator also.
Okay. Wonderful.
The child will wear it. But if the child removes it, then it won't work, right?
Correct. Yeah. So another question here. My son talks about his fears like lifts, certain songs and plans. How do I help my son?
Son, I didn't hear that question fully.
My son only talks about his fears like lifts, certain songs and plans. How do I help my son?
Lift, he's scared of certain lifts, certain
claustrophobia
songs,
maybe.
And certain plants.
Yes.
So when a child is expressing, first of all, that's a good thing that he's able to say, I am scared because of XYZ. Many a time our children are scared and they are anxious and we don't even know why they are anxious, right? So the first step is ticked off. So whenever your child is anxious, please, or showing a challenging behavior, it is most often relating to some anxiety or fear, right? So first of all, we need to have that belief. We can't stop that anxiety, or we can't just plug that anxiety away. The way to work with anxiety is couple of ways. One is when they're really in the anxious state, to be there to support them. So even if they say, I'm scared of that song, so we acknowledge, we say, oh, okay, so you're scared of the song. So that time we are not going into the analytical phase. So why are you scared? You shouldn't be scared, etc. With that, at that point when they're actually scared, or in the front of the lift, we are not going to say, hey, this is just a lift, don't be scared. We're going to say, oh, you're scared of the lift. Shall we try it out? You think if I come with you, you're going to feel better. So to take that kind of a partner approach, a very empathetic approach at that point. But later on, maybe when you go home or something like that, to analyze it with the child, this is what is called as CBT, or cognitive behavior training, to say that, this is a fact that the lift is safe, and to explain, try to find out the root cause. Is it the movement? It could be a sensory issue, that suddenly in the lift when you move, the stomach does a roll. So what is it that is scaring the child? And then work on that, to say that, okay, this is absolutely safe, but if you're still scared, we'll work on it. Give them time. The minute we say, no, you shouldn't be anxious, I'm going to force you, I'm going to throw you into the swimming pool, even though you're scared of water, it increases the anxiety actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
So acknowledging and firstly,
two approaches, two things. There is the left brain, which is very analytical, and the right brain, which is the seat of emotions and feelings and all that. So when I am emotional, or when I'm anxious, I'm in an emotional state. So I need to, sort of, I can't quickly go into an analytical state. The child will resist it. So at that point, to be empathetic and, talk to the child and all that. But later on, take him to the logical state, talk about the logic. The more we do that, more often we bring in the logic, then maybe when they are emotional, we can refer to that. Remember that day I talked to you about the lift, and I told you that it is actually not going to make you fall or anything. It's very safe. Shall we try it? That way.
Yeah. Another parent wants to know how to introduce and teach about sexuality to them.
Just like you did toilet training, sexuality is similar to that. There is a curriculum. There are books I have shared in my PPT. So around 11 or 12, start talking about their body. You teach them body parts. So you teach them all the body parts, including their genitals and private parts. And you teach them the functions of that. You start with that. And then you talk about reproduction. It's a biology lesson initially. And then you relate it to their own feelings, their own sensations, their own emotions, the changes that's happening to them. And depending on their level of understanding, give them the information as well as the tools to handle their own sexuality. And the space, for example, let's take, when you talk about sexuality, let's take masturbation. Maybe the child is, into masturbating. He's just about 11 or 12, and you think, oh my God, he's too young, and why is he doing this? So that is but the right time to talk about it, to say that when your body is changing, there are certain sensations in the private parts, which is making you feel like touching the part, and then to give them the space where they can do it, which is the appropriate space, a private space where nobody else is there, and you can't do it all the time. Give them rules which says when they can do this, where they can do this, why it's appropriate, what is inappropriate. Teach them skills, just like toilet training, according to me.
Okay. Okay, there is one more question. A parent is asking, my daughter gets scared of medical methodology. How can I train her? Due to COVID testing, she got scared so much that she always says no to doctor. Self-talking has increased and she wants to be alone.
See, it is scary, right? Many of us are there in this group, I'm sure, who are scared of something or the other, of an injection or a blood draw, or something, somebody dental work. It's not something comfortable. So it is something that we become comfortable with by practice. So the more the child is scared, the child who is scared of the lift, The child who's scared of medical, I would say practice it. Every month, whether the child is sick or not, we will need to go to the hospital in order for him to understand that this is a safe place and they take care of us here. There are certain procedures here which may be a little scary or painful, but that is for our own good. It doesn't come only by teaching at home. We can show videos, but it also comes by actually going to that place again and again and knowing that all the time they are not going to, hurt you or something like that. And I always recommend from teenage that medical checkups are done, every year. Dental checkups are done every 6 months, but the visit be more often. Go to the doctor once in a month or once in a couple of months, so that the child is getting used to it. It won't just go away like that.
Okay. Thank you. How can we help the child to stop taking his favorite food from others' plate when in a social situation like a family dinner?
Okay, see, everybody's asking me how can I stop some behavior, right?
Yes.
But are we thinking why that behavior is happening?
Yes.
Yeah, is the child able to communicate? If the child is actually taking from somebody's plate, I would first not try to stop them from taking, but teach them a way of asking, can I have some from your plate? Because sometimes we also take from somebody else's plate. So first of all, if in your house, he should not take from the other's plate, we should also not take. So it should be a generic rule. The rules have to be set. Next, we should also have a way of communicating and asking for that and rewarding. So if he asks in a proper way, then he gets it. So that connection he should get. Then we can teach no. When you take, without asking, I can't allow that. So that will be the third step that you do.
Okay. Is there any order in which the skills need to be taught, like the personal hygiene skills we have to teach early?
I can share. Yeah, I mean, it depends on the age, right? So from 0 to 6, you look at very basic things like washing hands, brushing teeth, toilet, cleaning up after toilet, etc. Maybe once they are, 6 to 12 years old, you work on little higher, like washing their hair, brushing their teeth more thoroughly, flossing. Then when they are 12, 13, we are looking at shaving, or looking at understanding about changing their pads if it's a girl. So yeah, there is a age related progression. There are checklists that are there that can be followed. Yeah.
How to condition behavior issue of screaming?
I'm just going to smile because I think this goes outside the purview of this discussion. We're talking about
Correct.
independence.
Correct.
For one, and I don't know why if the child is screaming, there should be a reason. I would believe that there is a reason for it, and so you have to go into a behavior analysis to see what is the reason. Usually we do what is called an ABC analysis. We observe the child, what happens before he screams, what happens after he screams. We see, is he, when he screams, does he get access to something which otherwise you won't give, or does something happen before that disturbs him, that makes him scream so much? So once we know the cause of the screaming, there may be multiple reasons and there may be layers. It may have even become a habit. Is the child communicating? Can he? Then we look at teaching them alternative skills to screaming. Can he communicate? I have pain, or I don't want this, or I want this, or I don't like the lighting in this room. Whatever it is, can he communicate that? And then only over time, then the screaming will go away. It won't just go away just like that.
Yeah. There is always a reason when there is a behavior.
And we need to have create what I call a behavior intervention plan for that. Whenever there is a challenging behavior, we have to analyze the behavior and then have a plan and keep reviewing the plan. And everybody should follow the plan. Everybody in the house, everybody in the school have to be consistent with following the plan, and very often we can overcome it. It could be even lack of engagement. Maybe he has nothing to do, so he's screaming. So then the simple solution is to have many things to engage the child with.
I have another question. How do we teach them independence with money? This is typical of an adult, or a teenage child.
See, anything, I will say, if you want them to be independent on the road, you can only teach it on the road. Like that, independence with money starts first with taking them shopping, buying few small things, right? Understanding the value of money. Understanding, then once they understand that if they give 10 rupees, they get this Lace chips packet or something like that, then increasing it, number of items to buy more functional items, to help you with the grocery shopping. So in each of these instances, for them to come back home and deconstruct the bill, deconstruct the shopping list, and say, oh, you gave so much, you gave 500, look, the bill was 420, so see whether you got the change, understanding change, then going on. So there's a functional curriculum we have for teaching money. So following that will help them to become more independent.
Next one, how can we introduce vocational training to kids in an ongoing manner so that they get some tangible skill while they are growing up? Can you guide us, please?
I don't know. I would say that follow the interest of the child. That's what I've said even in my PowerPoint, that one cannot predict that this child is going to do this or that. So there are two things to do. One is the life skills itself gives a lot of opportunity for exploration, right from cooking to housekeeping to even if you look at leisure skills like painting or art or music or trekking or cycling. So to engage the child in different ways. If he's not into academics, that's what I'm talking about. Or in academics, if they are very interested, to help them to pursue that better. So if the child is clear, for example, it's clear this child is into music or this child is into academics, then there's no worry, right? You can just train them on that. In case the child is not showing any interest in those kind of activities, then you explore many activities, and the only criteria is that the child is engaged with it. He's not resisting it a lot. Then we slowly or you look at the stims, you look at what he's doing, suppose he's all the time in the kitchen, then you can probably look at cooking. Or he's all the time in the bathroom, then you can look at cleaning the bathroom, washing clothes, cleaning surfaces. He may like water and soap. I think somebody's just put up a question, I'm just looking, that he's fiddling with everything in the bathroom. So instead of saying don't do that, keep most of it away and give him a little bit in a spray bottle or something that he can use then to wipe all the tiles. Convert the obsessions into skills.
Okay.
And then something will emerge from there.
Yeah.
Like I can tell you another child who would only pick up leaves and tear. He won't do anything else when he came to us. So we started giving him a lot of work in the kitchen, of course, where, all the kadi patta and we cook for 30 to 40 people. So there's a lot, pudina and all that he does. Then we also started taking him to an organic farm where he actually had to pick up the dry leaves. Then he had to, pick up the plants, water that kind of thing, interacting with the nature and the leaves. He didn't want to be inside the classroom. He didn't want to be inside the school. So we said, so be it. Then we will take you to the outdoors. So he's into a farm internship now.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So for teenagers, especially, I think many of them get into social media. A lot of them are on Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp. So what would you recommend for that? How can the parents let them be, or what kind of support the parents need to give them?
No, I think if they are on social media, especially till they are more independent, 18 years old, or, they're not supposed to be till they are 18 on social media. It is a dangerous place. There are predators. There is misuse. They may give information that they should not give. For example, they may give their house address. So it is something that is quite dangerous if they don't have the skills to know what is right and wrong. So I would first of all check whether the child knows the rules. There are rules of using the internet safely, and these rules have to be gone over again. And there should also be some parental controls so that they don't access unwanted sites, pornography. You know, we have to be controlling that till some time. You know, and checking their phones, checking their messages, all that monitoring has to be done till such time we are very sure that they are absolutely safe. And the only way to do it is to do, drills. So you have to pretend to be, an outsider and see, chat with them and see whether they will respond properly or not. So for a child who's high functioning and is having such things, one has to be very careful with all that. But I would still not say take it away from them. I would still say monitor, teach them skills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody has asked, is schooling important?
See, up to a point that a child is able to participate in the school program, I would say yes, because it is the space in India, especially, that is the space that they get to see the peers. There is less opportunity for interaction with peers elsewhere. So even if the academic program is not, they're not able to cope up, as long as major like 50% of the program they're able to cope up with it in some way, and the school is happy to have them and they are happy to go to the school, I think yes, schooling is something that one can look at. But if you think that that whole chunk of time they're just going, they're sitting there and they're not learning, they're not happy to go, then that's something you should review. And maybe for such a child you need to look at alternative ways like homeschooling or putting them in a smaller school which is more suitable to them, and things like that.
Okay. What is the age to start vocational training, and what are the areas that you think we can explore other than cooking, cutting vegetables? So
I don't think there's an age as such. There are children now as young as 7 or 8 who are putting up products and selling them right from Bangalore itself. So I don't think there's an age. It is just a question of exploring many interests. So if you don't know what to do, then you still have to explore, right? Then you have to put them, either you learn. In my case, my son could not go outside and learn. For example, initially for say art, it's something that I worked with him. I'm no artist. I think I failed in my art classes in school, but I had to learn various techniques too, because it's something he liked to pursue. He found it very interesting, and I had to find a lot of accommodations in terms of how to teach him, how to get him to produce a artwork. Even now it's a supported interactive process where he has to tell me that this is what I want to draw, and then I have to find some thing and understand from him, this is what you want to draw, or I draw and show it to him, and then he constructs the whole thing because he cannot do freehand drawing. So there is but it is something that engages him, and he really has I found a creative mind which has a lot of ideas in that sense. So I cannot just give a whole list. The possibilities are infinite right now. There are things like coding if the child is interested. There is accounting. My husband recently started something called OBS, or online bookkeeping services. He's training young adults to do data entry for Tally, and he's trying to get some job work for them. It could range from something like that, an online job. So, but then everybody cannot. My son cannot do that bookkeeping service. He's not interested in that. So there's no point in forcing things onto them. But you need to explore each thing. I have, for example, like I'm saying, he can't. He's not interested in bookkeeping, but I have tried to make him work on Tally. for some time to see if something like data entry with numbers is something. He's very fond of numbers otherwise. He's always looking at numbers, but he's not interested in data entry with numbers. So it should be something that they are interested and they have the skill and ability, and it takes time. Start exploring what age, right from I think 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You need to, like, just like with any other child who's in regular school, you're also putting them into a dance class, a karate class, an art class. So try these options, or just look on the internet. Now you have self-teaching videos. Try and learn and teach your child. That's how I taught a lot of things to my son. So maybe keyboard, try, you know, um, try various, or they, now with COVID, you have up-teen classes, right, online. So try them out for 3 months at least and see if the child is able to show some interest in that, and then note it down. So that area, then you can explore further.
Okay. Somebody has asked a question on addiction to porn videos, I think. He's 24. The boy is 24. So how can I help is what she wants to know.
See, the problem over there I have is with the word addiction. So if it's an addiction and all the time he's watching it, it certainly is a huge problem, isn't it? So whether it is a porn video or it's a cooking video or something, if they all the time that is what they are watching and they're not engaged with anything else, then that is certainly an issue. So initially, your first step will be to say that you don't say, again, just like the lift or whatever, you don't say, or the screaming. I wouldn't tell that don't watch totally. I'll work on it, but I will say that, okay, you can only watch, at night for half an hour, and then I'm going to take your device off or something like that, or you switch off the internet so that they don't get access. So first start restricting the time and using it, only in a appropriate place, only at the appropriate time. And then in the meantime, you work on their cognition to make them understand why this is dangerous and why this is inappropriate. Yeah. And maybe it'll take some time, maybe if he's already addicted, to get off that. They need to have other things that, you see, what happens with sex is that it is so highly rewarding and motivating. Once they get addicted to it, you need to find something equally rewarding and motivating to take them off that. So you'll have to find something that excites him as much as this, which is difficult, I understand. But over time, you have to explore many things. Maybe put him into an exercise schedule,
Correct.
have some, other ways, like, maybe he can have some Ayurvedic massages where he does get the touch, but it's not sexual. So various strategies like that, so that this is not the only source for his, excitement. And yeah.
So there is a request from Madhuri that she was asking for an adolescent workshop for parents.
Absolutely, one can do that. Yeah, I'm happy to do that. Actually,
Yes.
there is one that Nai Disha did about a few months ago. I can also share the YouTube link in case somebody wants to look at it right away. And we can probably fix up a date and do it for this group also at some point. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Would you suggest any specific timetable for children to get independent, Akila? Like anything in specific?
Again, I don't know, because it is just a timetable that all our children follow, but maybe our children will be a little late. For example, what age, Vidya, would you expect, say, your daughter to move out of the house?
Probably 18 to 20.
How old is she now?
She's 26.
Has she moved out?
Of course, yes.
Yeah. So for our children, I would add another 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah. So at the end of 5 years, it's not a hard and fast rule that they have to move out the house, but they should know to be independent of us, at least, right? They need to at least know to go, if we go out of the house for a week, know how to manage, or we, they go for a camp or something, they should know to manage. between the ages of 18 to 24, I will work on those skills for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
But I feel independence is a myth. 100% independent, none of us are. So
totally.
yeah. Interdependence is a reality, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
We all depend on each other, and our children bring a lot of value to our lives and the lives of others. And I think if we start valuing that and including them first in the family at home, and then in the community and the society around us, they will be contributing, and and we will be contributing to them. That is the ideal state.
Totally, totally. I think you nailed it. So when I asked you about timetable, I think I have made many, but most of the time doesn't work. So it would be according to his needs, he will change changing the timetable.
See, we've gone a full cycle. Say my parents from the last 8 or 9 years, they had to move in with me because my father at that time was 75. Now today is 84. Developed Parkinson's. So till then, I was independent, he was independent. Now we are interdependent. So it is human, to be human is to be interdependent, right? That's what makes us, even animals are interdependent. The whole nature is built in such a beautiful way that, one helps the other.
Correct, correct.
And so I think, we need to just keep that in mind. Whereas in a day-to-day basis, as I said, the skills have to be worked on to help the child, not because he has to become independent, but he has the ability, he has the skills. So why not help him to achieve those skills, whether with the support or with the accommodation or with a supervisor. For example, my son is 100% independent, but he needs a bit of supervision. Otherwise he can go into a different track. He can cook a meal, but he can eat it all up also. So at that point, after he cooks, he needs supervision so that he will keep aside in a hot box or something for the rest of us and take only his portion and eat. So at that point, somebody needs to intervene to remind him, remember, you have to keep for all of us.
Yes,
so
yes.
He still needs that bit of supervision right now. He's not able to what we call regulate when it comes to food.
Yeah. Any advice for parents to plan life going ahead as we grow older? What kind of plans do you think parents need to take actions? What kind of actions do you think?
I think there are two very, I call it the life plan, which I shared in one of the slides, the life skills, independence, fitness, and E stands for exploration, engagement, employment. So this whole part has to be explored. I think by the time, I'm just giving a rough time scale of 25. At least we should know that these are my child's strengths. This is his routine. These are the things that he will do. He will do yoga, cycling, and swimming, or he will do Pilates, karate, and he'll go to the gym for fitness. So we set up that entire routine for fitness, set up the entire thing for health, which includes things like going to the hospital, doing the checkups, being able to swallow medication, being able to know what is his medication. So to have that entire thing, awareness and like a dossier on the child. So you have this big file or in the computer where you have all the details about your child, what he can do in all this, what supports he needs, and what he's still learning or needs supervision with. So that is an important part to do for the lifetime of the child. Immediately somebody has said, after parents who, that is only the second part. So that also we need to plan, and we need to plan on where they're going to live. Is it going to be assisted living, group home, independent living, parent with child living? There are a lot of options coming up. And, to decide on one of those options, decide on who's going to be the legal guardian for the child after our time, it should be somebody younger or somebody similar age, 4 or 5 years around the age of the child, because we are going to go off about 30 years ahead of the child, right? So to have all those things in place in terms of the financial and legal plan. So you look at the life plan, the financial plan, and a legal plan for your child.
Yeah, I think that answers very informative. Wonderful session, Akila. Any more questions from any other parents? Thank you so much for answering very patiently.
No issues. I'm happy to answer questions.
Ma'am, can I ask something?
Yes, please go ahead.
Ma'am, it's not exactly related with today's thing,
Okay.
but it's like my son who is 10 years old. And
Yes?
I don't, my son is 10 years old.
10 years old. Okay.
Yeah. And I don't have a second child.
Okay.
So, आपने जैसे भी बोला ना, this living thing and someone, we should give the custody to who is younger and all that. तो क्या, because and on the other hand, किसी पे भी हमें we shouldn't हमें अपने बच्चे को सौंपना नहीं चाहिए ना, because even they will have their own life. The younger one who comes will have their own life. So it would be so what क्या करना चाहिए? What should we do, ma'am?
No, so Abhi, even I have a younger daughter, but that doesn't mean that I am telling her that you have to take care of your brother and that is the end of my planning. No, not at all. I want her to have a life, like you're saying. And to date, because especially because she's younger to my son, I've never even asked her to look after my son, at any point, even in the day-to-day stuff. So, in fact, the other way around, she has a problem sleeping at night, or she has nightmares. So she goes to her brother in case, brother's room in case she's scared after watching some movie or whatever. So I totally agree on the point that we cannot make our child a burden on somebody, right? So what we need to do, first step is obviously what we talked about today, to make our child as independent as possible, to help them as much as possible to realize their potential, have all the information about our child documented, whether it be medical, whether it be their interests, whether it be food preferences, all those things to be in place. Also to set aside the money, the financial plan and everything. Then all that person we are talking about, the legal guardian or the person, the trustee of the trust, the financial trust of the child has to do is just to sign the check and be a watchdog. They just need to see, whether this is happening correctly, right? So that is all that I probably expect my daughter to do once I am gone. I don't expect my son to live with her or her to live with my son, but to be keeping an eye, whether remotely. I now know of cases where the parents are gone and the sister sibling is living abroad and in one of the communities here is taking care of the person. So the sister or the brother is actually just monitoring from there, is it all happening? And through an NGO, say like Mitra for Life or like Amaze, we can also be monitoring what is happening. We also need to come forward, form groups, take responsibility and help to monitor this. The question I want to ask back to this parent, I didn't note down who it was who asked me the question, is
Yes, ma'am.
today, are you willing to go and help an elderly parent with the support of their child with disability? Because if you do that, you will totally understand what all is required, what they have not done, what there needs to be done. At the same time, you will be helping another parent. And you will set a precedent where when your child is old, we'll set a culture that the younger parents will start supporting our kids.
I will do that, ma'am. In fact, in one of a webinar, the chat was like, what after us? आपने जो बोला ना, exactly that was the point which was put from me. We can do this also.
So each one of us here can volunteer and find a parent. I know Veronica, ma'am, I don't know if she's still here. She's 79 years old and her daughter is my age. I'm almost 55. So, you know, whether we can give her respite for one day by being with her daughter, you know, where she can go to the hospital and come back. If we start doing these things, then the solution is right there. It is a human solution. But otherwise, if that doesn't happen, then we have to look at legal solutions as well as institutional solutions, we'll call it, where we have to have an institution where they are, which has to be managed. Then the government or an NGO has to be looking into their well-being. That is the only solution left there.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so
It's
much.
up to us. It's up to us.
So, ma'am, good evening. This is Uma here. I don't know whether you remember me.
I don't have the view of all of you. Can we have a gallery view and spotlight view? Can I remove myself? Because they put me on spotlight, I'm not able to see all of you.
Now you should be able to see, ma'am.
Yeah,
I removed it on
I'll
spotlight.
change mine to gallery, I think. Yeah, okay, go ahead, Uma.
So,
Yeah, of
good
course, I
evening.
know, Uma, you came home long ago in Coimbatore. How's your daughter?
Yeah, she's doing fine, ma'am. You moved to Coimbatore. I moved from Coimbatore to Bangalore. That's it. Ma'am, you were talking about the documentation part. Like, we need to document certain details about our children. And so this has to be handed over to the person who's going to, suppose they're going to live in a residential home or a caretaker. You mean to say that we have to hand it over, or what is the...
That is the point, that we should have something to hand over. We can't, if we are not able to tell, this is my child's needs, these are his abilities, this is what he can do, then the person who's taking care cannot suddenly, then it becomes a huge transition for the child, because they will do what they know is best. Our child may not be able to advocate for themselves. So I'll give you an example. For example, we tie up with Kovai Care, who are senior living people, and Amaze is got a tie up with them. So we support them in terms of the assessment and planning and settling down of the person with disability. During the lifetime of the parent is what is the agreement. But many parents tend to come only at the last stage. The child is already above 35, 40 years old. And they are often single parent. One parent has passed away, and the other parent is also having some life-threatening disease. That is when they move into the community. So then this happened practically where the other parent also passed away, and there was nothing. There was no documentation, not even a disability certificate that individually had. She was 45 years old. So one had to start from there, getting the disability certificate, because if we are taking charge of that person, we need to have a proof, right? And then I had to bring her in to Amaze for a week or 2 weeks along with her caregiver, assess to see what are the skills she had. Luckily, she was fairly independent with self-care, and she was interested in cooking. She knows to read and write, but she was not interested in doing that much. I tried data entry and all that. She was not interested. So then cooking and the gardening, and she liked to put rangoli. She stayed with her mother. So all the household tasks is what washing vessels, all this she was interested. And since Kovai Care is a community where more than 400, 500 people are there, so we started engaging her in the community kitchen with all these tasks. And I set up a schedule and I trained the caregiver. Initially, she had some behavioral challenges. So again and again, I had to go back and train the caregiver on to why it's happening. And once she settled down, it's been more than a year now. She's living there in her house. She has an independent room where she has her own TV and everything, attached bathroom. And then the caregiver is there who comes and, looks after her in the day. The night, there are it also has assisted living for elderly. So there are night nurses and caregivers of the elderly who just check on her. So just imagine if the mother had written down all this. Now I'm assuming these things, right? In 2 weeks, I had to understand this person. But the mother had 45 years to do that. If she had written down all this, because this person does have a younger sister and brother-in-law who are very nice, who are very attached to this person, but she lives abroad and she has 2 young kids. Why she was almost considering coming back. So then I told her, no, you don't have to, as long as you monitor from there, you keep in touch with me and the COVID care team and come every 6 months or something and check it out. That's good enough for now. You don't have to uproot yourself. So this is our onus is on us as parents to plan it out that way, not just look at some infrastructure. Amaze has no infrastructure. I don't own any building. But we decided that our focus is on creating these processes that are important to impact the life of an individual rather than just infrastructure. Infrastructure we can, any builder will give us eventually. Like the recent thing.
Do you have any format of this documentation so that we don't miss any points?
I plan to release it as like almost like a workbook.
Yeah.
Right now, it's still work in progress. It's in bits and pieces. We have, because it involves a list of assessments. Yes, we do have somewhat a format which we'll release shortly.
Okay, and we need to keep updating it. That means, so the basic
absolutely. You'll need to keep, because as an individual grows older, they may have medical issues, or they may develop new skills. Like my son developed, he's doing artwork only in the last 2-3 years. He's 25 today, so I never knew he'd even get into art. He can't even write properly, so one never knows.
So it would be really great if you can release that format of the documentation.
It will take about 5 to 6 months, but roughly the areas I can always share. Some of it is even there in this document. In October, I did a series of 4 month webinars, just on this topic. It started from puberty, then we talked about the life skills, then we talked about the life plan, and then the financial plan and the assisted living. So maybe we'll run the webinar again sometime in the beginning of next year. So you'll get an overall idea. And maybe by next April, May, we'll see whether we can publish something also. Yeah. You're in the process. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, Shrimati Akila, ma'am. Thank you for patiently taking up all the questions and
absolutely welcome.
Giving out answers, a detailed explanation for all the questions. Thank you very much. Very informative session. Thank you. And Dr. Madhuri wants to say something. So over to Dr. Madhuri.
Yes. Hi, Akila ma'am. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for this wonderful session. I think one of the reasons we really wanted to take up this topic right now, and it was so important to do this now, was, we've been seeing a lot of families who've been through COVID, a few members testing positive and a few staying home. And recently I've been seeing, a 21-year-old who's sent off to hospital along with the father, whereas the mother and the son were quarantined at home. And the mother really called me and said, how do I think this girl is going to manage? They're not allowing me to go with her. We still have a lot of issues with her. Right. So really, we should not be looking at this as a problem anymore of, parents aging and then looking at these solutions. Right. It's really at this point, especially this year with COVID, with everything it's brought into focus, I think it's a very here and now problem, which is why we really wanted to get the parents thinking about this. So again, Akila ma'am, like I said, we would love to have you back to do a detailed workshop. I know that was so much information packed into this, and I know it was we reached out to you saying just an hour and a half or so, but we would really love to have you back for a longer workshop and have a lot of the parents join us. Again, thank you so much. Yeah. Back to you, Sandhya ma'am.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, Dr. Madhuri.
Thank you, ma'am. We only run with the support of everybody like you and a lot of the parents who joined us here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Madhuri. So now I hand over to Sujani for making few announcements about Mitra for Life. Sujani.
Thank you, Sandhya ma'am. I'll quickly run over a few projects that we are currently running at Mitra. Let me share my screen here. Yes, I wanted to talk to you about Pranetra. It's a program that we are launching. It's a new program. It is mainly aimed at parents of 3 to 10-year-old children. It is to provide all the resources and support to empower the parents and basically to strengthen and work on the potential of the child, especially during these COVID stay home months. And the flyer will be shared on our WhatsApp group immediately after this call. So you can reach out to us, to the parents who are interested to be a part of this program. Yes, thank you, Sandhya ma'am. Over to you, Sandhya ma'am.
Yeah. Thanks, Sujini. Yeah, thanks, Sujini. One more information about Mitra for Life Parent Forum. So Mitra for Life Parent Forum organizes online meets every Thursday, 4 to 5 p.m. Our sessions are free. Everyone is welcome. To stay updated with our programs, please join our WhatsApp group. To join, message Parent Forum to 97400-93408 or log into www.mitraforlife.org. So today's PPT also will be made available in this particular platform. So we request parents to take a note of it. Thank you. So it is time to end the session. So it's my pleasure to thank Srimati Akila for joining us and for this detailed presentation, and also for taking up all the questions and also very patiently answering each one's question. That is, thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you very much for that. I'm sure this program has benefited all the parents, and the wonderful takeaways of this program also interdependence. That is the key for all of us. All of us are interdependent, and that is a wonderful takeaway, ma'am. Thank you very much. And independence is a process. It is not one step. And you also talked about this locator device. I'm sure, it will help many, many parents and the critical skills needed for independence. So many things. But then the bottom line is the interdependence. That's what I think was a wonderful takeaway of this program. So I thank all the parents for joining us for this very informative session today. And I hope to see your continued support and presence in all our upcoming sessions. So thank you, parents. Thank you, Srimati Akila, and thanks, Vidya, for coordinating the parent session, and thanking everyone, and looking forward to having one more session next Thursday, and looking for all the parents to join us once more. So thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Akila ma'am. Thank you, Vidya. Thank you to all the parents who've joined us.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you, Mitra for Life.
Thank you, Mitra for Life and Akila ma'am.
Thank you, Vidya.
Wonderful experience.
Akila, thank you.